So, hello and welcome to, well, what will be hopefully the first of some smaller, sort of bite-sized episodes of the Rebel City podcast, as well as talking about things in the wider sense that we've been doing in recent weeks. We got some feedback for some guys that got in touch and after watching the shows and suggested maybe some smaller snippets on maybe wee topical issues. So, this week, obviously, I've been pretty open in previous episodes about my interest in like American politics and stuff like that. There's been a massive week with regards the Supreme Court, which we touched on in episode 1, and I felt like maybe this was a good time just to, take 15-20 minutes just to kind of have a bit of chat about it and kind of see if we can make any sort of sense really of what's actually happening there at the minute. So I mean, obviously, last night was the Kavanaugh hearing, the confirmation hearing, where his accuser, the psychologist, kind of Doctor, what was her surname? Sorry, can't remember.
Fox,
something like that.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Fact check that for us.
She gave her testimony. There was a wall of men in front of her, which probably wasn't helpful, and quite a lot of sort of comment on it. I don't know. Is there something that you guys are?
Well, it's been actually something that I've recently kept an eye on, but to be honest, it's been really confusing me. I think it's been confusing me for a number of reasons. Like there's been, I mean, we were saying definitely 4, but potentially 6 people that have came forward. But also, I was saying that last night. Sorry, Ford. Aye, no Fox. Ford.
Apologies.
That last night I was watching the Philip DeFranco show, and he'd said that 2 people had come out and took responsibility for one of the instances, or the Ford instance. Right. And so, I mean, we were talking off mic, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
I don't really know.
It's quite a confusing issue because I know, obviously, what we touched on previously, that the Supreme Court is sort of one of the main sort of branches of the American government. It's one of the checks and balances. It's intended to keep things like, a president within the rules, within his boundaries. But obviously Trump is nominating this guy with fairly universal Republican support. And, for me, it's a bit worrying because, we live in a world where the year past has seen like the Me Too movement, yet we're running the risk of like one of the, leading civilised, quote unquote, countries in the world is potentially electing a sex offender to its highest sort of judiciary. This guy's there for life, potentially, along with Gorsuch, the previous nominee. So Trump has now potentially guaranteed a conservative majority for, the next 40 or 50 years there. And I don't see how American women can trust a guy who potentially or allegedly has sexually assaulted a number of women to make decisions about their bodies and about their reproductive systems and their rights.
Mm-hmm. I would think it would be an absolute, no chance. Like, that this guy would even be... I mean, as soon as the allegations come out, in my mind, I was like, that's it, done.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, as soon as I'd heard that there was allegations against the guy, I was like, there's no way that they can even...
Yeah.
But clearly, they're pushing for it. It's...
Trump has changed the whole thing. Like, if he can get away with what he's got away with this far, then there's no reason to kid on that you're not pushing the envelope anymore for like a Republican point of view. Like, the thing that has disgusted me the most is that the Dr. Ford came out and says, I'd like an FBI investigation. I want. I think she also passed a polygraph test as well in relation to this.
Aye. Mm-hmm.
And the guys in the Senate said, no, we're not going to let the FBI investigate this. And it's not because they're worried about the truth, it's because they're worried about how long it's going to take. Like, the Americans have a midterm election in November, and the Republicans could lose control of both houses, potentially, given the overwhelming backlash against somebody like Trump. So there's the serious thought in their mind that we need to get this done before November in case we lose, even if it means appointing, a sexual predator.
That midterm election, what does that? What's the outcome of that? So what does that determine?
The midterm election will determine a number of seats in both the Senate and the Congress, but there'll also be similar elections across all the states at both, their state and Congress levels. There'll be governors. People get set terms, but they don't always run like congruent to each other. So, you would expect in the UK for an election to be called and for every MP to be up at stake. That's not always necessarily the case in America. So, although the midterms are big elections, it's not always the case that everybody's on the chopping block again. So, it becomes about really fine margins in like small areas, and winning swing seats and stuff like that. And it does generally get messy because American politics is a contact sport. But this is at a level at which I've never seen. This is conservative evangelical Christians backing sex offenders and Trump, and the fella in Alabama who was accused of harassing underage girls, they backed him to the hilt until he lost. And now we're talking about potentially a Supreme Court justice, and like the cognitive dissonance is like frightening.
You've seen V for Vendetta.
Yeah,
That's that kind of dystopian. That's kind of what some of this reminds me of, but it almost makes me think that America hasn't really changed in the last like 100 and so years.
Yeah.
Just where we can see everything that they've done now, but there are still so many people so hell bent on being loyal to their party that they're prepared.
partisan, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a massive divide down the middle. Instead of, like we were talking about earlier, can't we just look objectively at things and be rational towards other people instead of
What do you lose?
oh, but he's red, so we can just. He probably didn't do that. It's all a smear campaign. It until proven guilty, it could be.
Oh, absolutely. I'm
could
trying to
be.
be very careful about saying potentially and allegedly. I'm not saying anybody actually didn't, but I'm saying the thought of what could be on the table here should be causing riots in the street already for me, and I don't get how it does. And this is a country that uses guns and notions of freedom, and I'm like, I don't get how they're so passively sitting and just accepting the complete hijacking of their political process. And for me, and I've read some really interesting stuff in the last couple of days as well, and it's about the evangelical Christians. How do you say love thy neighbour but won't tolerate immigrants, or honour thy father and mother and then take kids away for their parents? And how do you talk about being pro-life or equal rights, or no racist, but it's still vote overwhelmingly in favour of people who clearly go against all those notions?
Because the people that have got the guns and that would be doing the rioting are the people that vote in these people anyway. So they're almost blinded by their own loyalty.
It's frightening.
Aye, nationalism's like
It's a force.
aye, for sure.
It's an aggressive one. It's not a civic nationalism of we did gay rights and we do green energy and we do progressive stuff. It's like flying eagles and airstrikes.
It's the thing that with Trump that really gets me is the whole the way that you get in the sort of like, I'm going to drain the swamp. And I mean,
it was laughable then. It's hilarious now.
That's it, because he's made the swamp worse.
He's topped up the swamp.
Exactly, exactly. It's no, he's no anti-political class. There's not. He is
No.
He's gone in properly like any Republican president would, and just absolutely like.
I enjoyed seeing him getting laughed at the UN this week, though. I've got to be fair. Did you see this?
No, I don't think
So
I did.
he went to the UN General Assembly this week and gave his keynote speech and went, and my administration has overseen just the best speller American everything in any administration's history. And like there was audible laughter in the General Assembly room, and then he went, I wasn't really expecting that, and then there was like uproarious laughter at it, and then afterwards he was like, I don't know, they weren't laughing at me, they were laughing with me.
He's potentially right on that,
Well,
because he knows what he's saying's bullshit.
Yeah.
So that's probably true.
There's probably an element in it.
He's like the progenitor of the modern American dream. I want to be the president, and then he is, and you're like, no way. He should.
How the fuck did it happen, man? Like,
yeah.
I know. I think the
Fair play.
scarier thing for me is who's next? Like, I mean, the
Arnie.
talk of like, well, he can't because he's
Austrian.
Austrian, he's no
He needs to
American.
be-
Not unless they change that rule.
What if he was born in Kenya?
Like Obamagate.
Listen to me.
You just wanted to do your own impression. That's
Sorry.
You could have done it at any point. I'd have been quite happy with it.
I think like one of the so for like the Kavanaugh thing, and clearly like you're saying the end goal is just to have a complete like Republican
Stranglehold.
stranglehold on that what the Chief Justice and the judges,
Yep.
like that type of thing. What kind of like, so why is that important? Like obviously it's the checks and balances, but what does that mean? Like what kind of power do they have?
So, as I said in previous episodes, they're like they answer sort of questions a lot. So, in terms of like people's real everyday lives, it could be massive. Like the big one that this entire sort of 40-year Republican campaign has been about, or has been largely driven by at a ground level, you know, by the sort of grassroots people out in the South and beyond that you know believe in these evangelical sort of, you know, Christian ideas, is abortion. So obviously the kind of Roe v. Wade decision that has been upheld at various points in the past, this has been like the number one target in, you know, their eyes for nearly half a century. So that's something that, you know, the removal of those provisions in healthcare for women across America could be absolutely devastating. And then when you see this, you know, the potential success of that, I think these people will be emboldened to challenge laws that maybe relate to gay rights, that relate to civil rights. Maybe the government, you know, a fairly clearly racist president could test the law on matters of race or, you know, immigration, and then who knows what else. And these are lifetime appointments, and this is going to be Trump's second, which means 40, 50 years potentially a conservative thought process at that level.
It's going to end up like Handmaid's Tale.
Well, this is the thing. There was, I think someone actually, like somebody, there was a number of people tweeted that during Dr. Ford's sort of testimony last night. And it's a pretty fair comparison in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? Like, it's all the horrible things that we thought we had left in the past as people can be dragged back and forced upon us. And not to say that it will necessarily affect the rest of the world, but what goes on in America influences the rest of the world. Like, there's no coincidence that Trump rose at a time when we're seeing other sort of far-right resurgences in various parts of Europe and, you know, in the UK, Brexit decisions and stuff like that. Le Pen in France and Farage in England and beyond. Like, these people are emboldened by that action, you know what I mean, like that they see elsewhere, the success that they see elsewhere. So if the momentum gathers behind Republicans as it currently has, and they get Kavanaugh through, then it doesn't matter whether there's a Republican president, it doesn't matter if there's a Republican Senate or a Republican House, because they've got the Supreme Court and they've got it for 50 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a scary prospect for me, man. Aye, it's mental. But what do you think the likelihood is that he's going to get through? I mean, there's
I think
six
as it
people, if it's
stands-
like even four, but I mean, even one.
I think this is where the cognitive dissonance of the Republicans comes in, because I think they're going to vote him through anyway. I think they're going to roll the dice and vote him through anyway. So they are. And, you know, it's been their mantra for, you know, generations. So the chances there, they have the numbers, they are not going to miss, I don't think.
No.
No, I don't think it's going to matter.
I think that as long as, like you said, this kind of, I suppose it's a bit socially regressive, this way of thinking. It's looking a bit back, it's not really looking forward.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's just the kind of hopeful in me that looks at people like sort of Theresa May and looks at how can you connect with people 20 years from now? How can you connect with people 30 years from now with the policies you put in place now?
Yeah.
Looking at this sort of really thick, conservative looking, sort of looking Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how much longer they. I don't know what the sort of productive longevity of it is, because they don't like climate change. They don't like. Sorry, climate change happens forever. We had an ice age, right? It's going to happen anyway, but it's, to get the words right, it's man-made climate change. It's slightly accelerated by us.
The acceleration.
We're accelerating it, and they're not buying it. It's still snowing, whatever. And you're like, you are dumb beyond belief. But things like that, things like abortion, but all these other things, they're going to look at that economically as well, where we start to all of a sudden, like, China overtakes them, India overtakes them. Even if we can get our finger out here and like start to just like put AI everywhere and everything, like, America's going to get left in the dust.
That's what I was exactly. What
and
I was
think that's the case.
If they do this, they'll get left behind, because the world is changing. This is. I think that the Trump thing. I mean, there's people out there that are like, who's behind Trump, and like, there's ex-army generals that are sick of like the war and stuff like that. It's all bullshit. Like, this is the last. I think that I'm with you, but I feel like this movement to the right and Farage is the last grasps of their attempt to try and keep control, because it's done. Their newspapers, their media's failing left, right, and centre. Nobody's watching the TV. Like, once I'm an old man, it'll be finished for them. They'll have no way of actually like getting their message to people unless they adapt them like a more modern sort of way. So I'm with Greg. I think that it probably will happen, and there will be like short-term pain, but I think ultimately long-term, it's like that way of thinking's kind of finished.
It's like
but that's maybe too hopeful.
we were talking about looking at like a political party and going, no one actually represents me, because I'm almost like, you've got like you've got left, right economically, and you've got authoritarian, libertarian.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think I think there needs to be like a Z-axis, because we're going to end up pushing into this kind of like weird 3D political spectrum where technocracy and AI is now a factor, and it's like,
we need to think about the time in front of us.
Yeah, you need to look. Yeah, you need to take this over time. You can't just put yourself in this little box and go, oh well, I suppose I'm quite fiscally, conservative.
The way we've handled like the notions of data management and big data and stuff has been
archaic.
It's been horrific.
It's archaic. Yeah.
So I mean, I think, to be honest with you, I'm kind of with you, where I think that the guys are going to get in. It's going to be rough for a while. People are going to have to knuckle down, and hopefully, hopefully it's a death knell. It's the start of something that's going to hopefully end all this nonsense. But other than that, I think we'll wrap it up there, man.
Aye, man.
Greg, it's been good having you this week, man.
Aye, man. Thanks again, dude.
Coming in, and we'll have you back anytime.
My pleasure.